We are back home. We're back at the normal setup, the normal background, the shirt's off, and here we got a trade review. It is nice to be back. My OBS is working like normal. It is just so nice to be back. I don't know if anyone has ever traded while being on vacation or out of town or anything. It just feels weird, dude. Something just feels off when you're not trading in your normal environment. So we'll get into the trade recap for today. Again, apologize, it is a little bit later. It is pretty late, about 7 p.m. Been driving all day, so just now getting a chance to make this. But I did trade this morning till about, let me see here, what time? Till about 11 o'clock. But we didn't really miss much. It looks like in the PM session we did not miss much. So going into the day, we'll go over our bias real quick, what I was kind of looking at here, and stuff like that. So going into the day, let's go to like 9. Here we go. So going into the day, the bias was bearish. I was really bearish going into the day, and let's get into why, obviously. So we've been in a higher time frame. We have an SMT between ES and NQ. We had an SMT at the all-time highs, and we're in this 4-hour fair value gap that we're holding. We were in equilibrium of the gap, which is obvious. You don't really even need to draw this tool out, but it just shows you, bearish confluence, I guess. This is the 4-hour chart. This is actually, I don't think that this candle, actually it did. Okay, so the 4 hours kind of spoiling it a little bit, but yeah, so we're bearish, and the reason being is that, right, you might be saying, okay, look at this low here. Why are you not bullish? Because we swept this low, right? We swept liquidity, right? We swept a low, we should be bullish. We're holding this imbalance over here. Why was I not bullish? Because notice how we swept a low, right? Notice how when we swept this low here, if we had this reaction here off this candle and we did something like this, came back down and broke structure back to the upside, then I would have been very bullish going into the day. Or if we got this structure, I'd be bullish towards the highs and all this liquidity. The reason I wasn't is because, look, notice how when we take the low over here, we have no reaction back up and we displace lower. So we're displacing through a low. We're breaking structure through the downside. We broke structure here on this candle. We broke structure. And if you guys remember, I was saying the other day how I was expecting this 30-minute fair value gap to be the hold and be the catalyst to actually send us lower and draw on liquidity here. I literally think in the last video I was talking about that. So that's pretty cool to see it play out. This is like a turtle soup entry right here on the swing trading, which I don't do, so I don't really have a great understanding there. But if you see, we sweep out this little high right here inside this 30-minute gap. When we have bearish market structure, remember we swept Asia high here. We have an SMT at the all-time highs. We're holding a 1-hour fair value gap. And if you want to even look more on a bigger time frame, we need this daily retracement, right? We have just been climbing and climbing and climbing since really here. Equilibrium's all the way down here underneath this daily low. And we've been nowhere near equilibrium ever. Maybe even if we draw it from this low, we still don't. This actually lines up better since the last decent pullback of about 700, 800 points. From that to the high, equilibrium lines up almost perfectly or perfectly with these lows. So this is actually the target I have now, which I'm actually just going to mark out because this is definitely my target going to the rest of the week. Because again, on the weekly, we haven't had a significant retracement in a while. So not saying that you have to on these higher time frames. It doesn't have to work the same way that we work, on the lower time frames. But just considering where we're at in the charts, we just have been going straight up for a while, and I wouldn't be surprised if, again, this drawn liquidity starts becoming a target for us. But that's all irrelevant for today, right? We don't have to worry about something that is 500, 600 points away, right? We just focus on daily stuff. So since I was bearish, right, what do I want to see today to take a trade? I wanted to see us push up into this 1 hour fair value gap, bearish, in here, or even higher up into this one, right? We have this order block on the 4 hour. We have a 4 hour order block. Maybe we could reject off, maybe this inverse. I wanted to see price come up higher. Is just basically my main point is I want to see price come up higher, maybe reach equilibrium of this range, right? Maybe hit this order block here. I want to see some sort of retracement to then go short, because my main target for the day was right over here, this relative equal low. As you can see this on the 1 hour, we have all this accumulation, right? So if we wanted to consider this the original consolidation, right? Even though we had a market maker sell model here, and obviously on a bigger time frame, we're just completing a bigger time frame market maker sell model. So it's crazy to see. Now we're getting the other side of the curve, and this bigger area could be the original consolidation, even though that starts getting a little bit crazy. So we could even say it more like this: original consolidation, buy side of the curve, and now we're starting to respect sell side of the curve. And I don't think we're going to stop here. I think this is the main draw. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because just because you have a draw in liquidity doesn't mean the market has to do that, right? Just because you think you're in a sell model, right? This could be the bottom of the sell model. But anyways, internal structure validated that today this was the main target, because we didn't have anything in between us and this drawn liquidity. So we had equal lows, a very nice target. It was also a daily fair value gap. The blue line here, a daily fair value gap, and a nice 4 hour imbalance here. So that was really something I had a ton of confidence in to be hit. And again, I wanted to see us come up and maybe sweep out this high inside this bearish imbalance, the 1 hour, just because you can't really short at the bottom. There's no opportunity for you to short there. So that being said, market opened at, is this 8:15? Market opened around here. So as you can see, market opens right here, 9:30. We get a little pump up. We hold this tiny imbalance. Doesn't really matter to me because we didn't come up high enough. And then we keep selling off, right? And eventually we leave the low. We can't get a big enough retracement. And technically speaking, I'm not even going to consider this an inverse setup, but I was going to say when this gap breaks, you could go short. But that is just terrible, because look at where we break. If you were to sell, you're going to be targeting, if you're just targeting that low, you're going to be targeting like 5 points, right? And obviously we run straight through. But what would be the point in doing that, right? There's no need to do that trade. It's not going to make you money long term, but that's the only inverse we had to the low. And again, there's obvious reasons why I didn't take that, because that's just not a setup in the slightest. So after the objective was taken, that's how we found our bias, but we just, as you can see, just sold off and we had no entry. And that's perfectly fine. That's what I think a lot of people can't handle. And what I couldn't handle at first too, when I was first starting the trade, I couldn't handle it for a while, was just, I would get overconfident. Oh my gosh, I know we're going to go down here, right? And I would try and force every setup to there, because I wanted to be able to capitalize on my ideas, or be able to profit on the idea, or be able to, be able to make money on the trade, because I think that because I want price to go somewhere, that I have to benefit from it. So price ran without me, or didn't give me an entry, whatever it is, and we took out my objective for the day, right? So I wasn't too curious with any other trade, because the rest of the day just slowly sold, and then kind of we're just consolidating here because again, what happens after you take a major sell side? You're gonna build structure because the market doesn't know which way it's trying to go yet. There's no liquidity. You just took out all the liquidity. Now market's reconsolidating, rebalancing, stuff like that. The only other thing I would have pointed out would be here that I thought was interesting was notice when we sell through. Notice how this 5-minute fair value gap. Where are we? Notice how this 5-minute fair value gap right here. Notice how we don't go lower until we rebalance to this inefficiency. I thought this was pretty interesting. It is also in a 15-minute, but I really like the precision here with how we never sold until we took out that high, right? Because we were in the 15-minute fair value gap earlier. We were in a 15-minute fair value gap on this candle. We start selling, but it's not enough. We come back up, we sweep this internal high inside the 5-minute again, and then we get displacement through the low. We don't take out this low yet. We come down, and then we take it out. So even here, you would look for this to get retraced into, and then maybe get an inverse setup. Doesn't come. And then the market ends up selling more. And there's just no good entry throughout this time at all. And then a nice setup that isn't really anything amazing, but just something I noticed in price watching it live time was we came down, we swept this low, and if you're still, and then it comes back up, rebalances into this gap. This again is not a valid trade, why I didn't take it, but it's just nice to read price action, study price action, the way it forms live time. We had this move down. We had equilibrium above this high that we haven't tapped yet. This push down, we have equilibrium. What do? We put in a high that's close. We sweep this. We retrace to this fair value gap. We rebalance above equilibrium, sweeping out all these highs inside this fair value gap, which I think maybe, why does it not? I hate when TradingView doesn't. I hate when you change the time frame, it just messes you up. Inside this 5-minute fair value gap, which we had, but we were already tapping into it. Let's see if we had anything more precise. We had this 3-minute here. Let's see about a 2-minute. We had this 2-minute. So anyways, we hadn't hit equilibrium of this move down. What do we get? We tap equilibrium. We inverse this fair value gap right here. And then this ends up actually being, ooh, that's not a fair value gap. My bad, that is not a fair value gap. We end up inversing this fair value gap, but it doesn't hold. What do? We sell off. You're expecting now to see this low. We don't quite get there. What happens? Price ends up hunting equilibrium again, which is in this fair value gap. So you start overlapping all the confluences. Wow, okay, that's weird. I can't just draw this. We get another fair value gap. We tap into it here. And it's still interesting that we come down, we hold this fair value gap, we displace lower. What do? We displace to again, and this is just getting a little bit crazy. We respect the fair value gap, we go to equilibrium of the move up, we come back up one more time, and we sweep out the internal high one more time inside of fair value gap, which is turtle soup. And then we turtle soup down and actually fall through and displace through these lows. Each one of these order blocks ends up holding after that. And then we get the move down. That was the last time I was looking at price throughout the day. And that again, what I just went over there is nothing that actually matters in the grand scheme of, getting better at placing executions, because it's just never that serious, right? You don't have to know exactly where price is going to go 24/7. Because you don't have to know, you don't have to get so technical with it, right? You don't have to be so technical with where's the market at, what's it doing, is it in equilibrium, did it resweep this, did it manipulate this, did it do this or that? Just get really good at the thing that you're looking for, which for me is inverse fair value gaps and drawn liquidity, and SMT, stuff like that. Just get good at the basic stuff and just look for your setup, right? Don't overcomplicate the markets. Don't look to read the market all day, right? I don't need to sit here and and read everything in here and try and decipher what price was doing, right? Price is not some mystery that is waiting for you to uncode it and solve it, right? I think price is very intentional with stop raids, turtle soup, stuff like that. I do think price is intentional, but I don't think there's some master algorithm that you can study all the time, right? I don't think that anything in here matters to read up and chart and annotate and, oh, right here we have a stacked lows with liquidity residing. We barely sweep under liquidity. We break structure to the upside. We create a fair value gap. We hold this order block and we bounce up, and then we fail to take out the highs. I don't think there's anything to read into there because it doesn't matter, right? This is not. There's nothing for me to decode or sit here and try and learn from, right? And I think that's the problem people have is they sit in front of their computer and try and decipher every single detail on the chart when all that matters is the thing that you are looking for, that you specifically care about, right? Because there's a million different indicators that I never look at, right? And I can still find trades that somebody needs that is a fundamental piece of their strategy is some indicator or some strategy or some concept that they look at every single day that I never look at, and I still will succeed. I still will have a lot of progress and a lot of success with trading without having to know everything, right? You don't have to know everything. And sometimes I think that's why people have days where they can't just take no trades. And today I took no trades, and that's why the whole point of this video is the hardest part about becoming better at trading is being able to not take a trade, right? And it sounds obvious. You might hear people say that, but I really mean that. Like, you have to sit here and not feel like you're not looking at the market, right? When this draw in liquidity, my target for the day, the 1 hour, these lows here, when it gets taken, I'm pretty much 95% sure I'm going to be done for the day. Why is that? Well, because I know that my objective was taken. So if the market's already gone to where I want it to go, why would I be looking? I don't know where it's going to go now. This is where I had high confidence and confidence that I was going to go to, right? So after this gets taken, why am I going to sit here on the 1 minute and try and decipher every single bounce, every single little sweep, every single little whatever, when guess what we're doing, right? We're chopping around because this is now becoming original consolidation for the next day. There's nothing to be doing in here. There's absolutely nothing for you to look at. This move was to purge liquidity. This is when the market was effective. We moved 200 points. After that 200-point move, we sit 150 points for the rest of the day for 2 times the amount of time. My point, again, I want to drive home is that people say, oh, being able to not take a trade. People that are just starting out, that are just learning, don't know how to not take a trade because they think that if they're not seeing something, if they can't find a trade, it's because they're doing something wrong. And I actually think it's the opposite. If you can sit there and not take a trade, it's because you actually know what you're looking for. If you never take trades, you never know how to find a trade, you don't know what you're looking for, then not taking trades is not a good thing for you. Don't get that misconstrued. But if you're someone that does take trades and you're sitting there one day and you're like, man, I don't see anything, do not for a second doubt your ability. Do not for a second think that you can't find good trades because there isn't anything you're supposed to be doing, right? If you specifically have a problem where you don't have confidence to get into trades or you don't know what you're looking for, that is a problem. You need to learn how to enter trades. If you don't have a system, if you don't know what you're looking for, then how are you going to be able to trade? But if you have a system, you're able to take trades, you know what you're doing, and you don't see a trade, don't start thinking about finding a new strategy. Don't start thinking you're broken, anything like that. Not being able to trade or not finding a trade or not wanting to trade certain days is actually a very, very good thing. And the more calm you can be with that, right? Like, why would I want to force a trade today, maybe take a loss, just to come back tomorrow and win, right? Why wouldn't I rather just not take a trade, not force anything, come back and get one win tomorrow, rather than forcing the case and taking a bad trade that you didn't have any confidence for, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So I really encourage you to start becoming really picky. That's why I'm doing 1 trade per day. That's why I'm risking the same amount every trade. That's why I'm only taking A+ setups, is because I literally cannot, and I'm going to make a video about this whenever I pass my first funded, because it will happen within this month, within a month from now. It will happen. I will pass my first funded. And I will break down exactly how I'm using risk management, right? Because I think people don't go over it. But with how I'm risking $400 per trade, taking 1 trade per day, I have a very good system. I know what I'm looking for in the markets. Because I have these pieces in place, I literally, maybe this account, maybe I might lose this account, right? Maybe I go on a losing streak and I lose the account, right? There's nothing you can do about that. If you're following your rules, you're following your system that you know works, and you have a losing streak. That's fine. That happens. Whatever. So I can't guarantee you're going to pass this one, the next one, whatever, but you will pass an account eventually if you have a system that actually works, if you use proper risk management, right? Like, there is no way possible that if I only take setups that are at least a 1-to-1 R, right? At least. I have way higher than a 50% win rate. I have way higher. You need a 60% win rate. Technically, you need a 51% win rate to actually make money with a 1-to-1 R, but I'm not going to try and act like, you want to take 100 trades to make, 1% on your account, 51% win rate, right? If you can make 60, 65, 70% wins, right, a 1-to-1 is great. If you can get anything more, squeeze anything more than a 1-to-1 on your trades, you'll be fine, right? So if you can get anywhere from 1R to 1.1 to 1.5 R, or even a 2R on each trade, and you have a good win percentage, and you take one trade per day, and you actually let your trades hit take profit, and you risk the same amount in every single trade because you're only taking the best possible setups, there is literally no way you can't pass fundage. There's literally no way you can't make payouts. There's literally no way you don't make money trading. The only thing that happens if you don't make money doing that is, one, you're either not following your rules, or two, you don't know what you're looking for. And those things are both fixable, right? That's what I think people get caught up in, is that they're afraid. For me, at least, I'm afraid to let my trades run because I'm afraid of it losing out and not hitting my take profit. So I cut myself short. I cut my risk to reward bad. So I might make only 300 or 200 on a trade that I was risking 400. And even though I made $200 or $300, I still didn't get a 1-to-1 R. So then when I lose, I'm losing more than my winners. And the only reason I'm doing these things is because I'm scared. I don't have a full trust in myself. I don't have full confidence in the trades playing out. So I'm cutting them early. And it's a scarcity mindset that you'll never find a good winner. You'll never, find another trade, or this one might fail, instead of just trusting the system, because it's hard to submit to your system and be like, okay, I know this works. Because what happens if I let my trades play out and over the course of a month I'm not profitable? Then that idea scares me, because then it's like, oh crap, it's not my risk management, it's not my psychology, it's my strategy, right? So I'm kind of sheltering myself away and not letting myself see, okay, is it my strategy? Is it my psychology? What is it? Because I'm getting out of trades bad, stuff like that. So that's why I changed my rules to one trade a day, risk the same amount, only take the best possible setups, and hold to take profit. I will absolutely not get out of a trade early ever again for this next month while I'm doing this. I won't even move my stop to break even. It's either hitting my take profit or it's hitting my stop loss. I'm not doing anything in between, because I need to see, is my strategy, what I'm looking for, does it actually work? Does it actually work within the market? Or am I just, pulling data out of nowhere, recency bias, confirmation bias, stuff like that? Am I BSing myself, or does it actually work? And I am super, super confident that my strategy works. And if I stick to my risk management, I will get funded. So I have to not let the fear of the fear of maybe this isn't going to work. What if it doesn't work? I don't want it to not work so badly. I'd rather self-sabotage than see if it actually does work, because I'm more afraid of it not working than if it doesn't work, right? If I do all the things I know how to do and it works, then I'm there. Then I'm profitable, right? But if I do all the right things and it doesn't work, then I have a lot more work to do, and I'm afraid of the work I have to put in if it doesn't go right. I'm not afraid of doing hard work. That's not the case. So it's a weird psychology dilemma of, I'm not afraid of learning. I'm not afraid of it not working and having to keep going and keep learning, but I'm so convinced that what I'm doing is profitable. I'm so convinced that I know enough to be profitable, that I'm scared to let myself actually trade and not be profitable, because then I'm like, what next, right? And then realistically, what next is I just keep learning. I find something else out. I tweak something. I figure something else out, right? I journal. I keep learning from it, right? That's the only way I'm going to get better. But if I'm completely honest, that's the last piece that I'm missing, is just that last little bit of trust. because I fully believe I am profitable right now. I'm just not holding my trades properly and I have bad psychology. But again, I'm afraid that if I fix the psychology and hold my trades properly, I'm afraid of what if it doesn't work? What if I am not profitable? Because I genuinely feel like I have every single tool I need to be profitable right now if I just held my trades properly. But again, that's why this month is really important, because now I can actually see, am I profitable? Cut the BS, cut the whatever. This has been the hardest part for me. It's been months of just the same mistakes, getting out of trades early, taking more than one trade, taking bad setups, forcing things, stuff like that, because I'm afraid of it not working. So I'd rather do things I know aren't right so that I can blame those things. And I'm tired of blaming, self-sabotaging, all this stuff, and I want to just prove that I am actually as good as I think I am at trading, and just let it happen and start benefiting from it, right? It doesn't make any sense for me to keep doing these bad things, because I want to actually start feeling success. I want to start feeling the abundance of trading and what I've been learning. So why do I keep doing the things I know don't help me? So I want to make a whole video breaking down that psychology piece, because it's actually mind-boggling what we do and self-sabotage ourselves as traders, doing things we know shouldn't work. And I really do believe it comes down to the fact of you're afraid to see if you do everything right, you're afraid to fail doing everything right. It's much easier to fail doing everything wrong than it is to fail doing everything right. And I think that's where I'm sitting, is that I'm just afraid to fail doing the right things. I'm afraid to fail if I hold my trades right. I'm afraid to fail if I only take A+ setups, because that reflects more negatively in your head. You take more responsibility for your mistakes if you're unprofitable doing the things you know you're supposed to, right? If you think that you're doing proper risk management and proper trade strategy and only taking the best possible setups, if you think you genuinely are only taking the best setups and you're not profitable, then that's more frightening than over trading, over leveraging, being emotional. And that's why I really want to prove to myself that, I can do the right psychology things, because the trading piece should be the easy part, right? And I'm just afraid of seeing the real results. So that's why I'm really committed to holding my trades properly. And you guys will see this month. I almost guarantee I'm passing my funded with proper risk management, proper psychology. I almost can guarantee it. We're on a good start. We're up about 600 on the account, which is a good start. We need 3,000. But it's just going to take a lot of good days and a lot of good momentum and a lot of good psychology and a lot of following our rules, and we'll get there. The last piece I do want to go over is on ES today. We actually had a very beautiful setup here. We had, let's see, did we ever take out the draw on liquidity? No, we didn't. So we have a target for tomorrow. But yeah, today was pretty nice for ES. I don't execute on the ES, otherwise this would have been a trade I would hopefully have smacked on the NQ. Market open was around right here on this big green candle. We come up. We had an SMT at the time with this high between ES and NQ. We had an SMT, and then we create another SMT, and we had generated sell side liquidity with this imbalance that we hadn't rebalanced to here. We had this singular fair value gap get inversed again on NQ. This is something I'm just absolutely fiending to see. We close below, you get in, your stop would be here, or close back above or whatever, maybe stop here. So I would get in on the shorts here, just for the sake of it there. Your last target would be down here, and your first target would be that imbalance. And boom, that trade would have absolutely smacked. Again, double SMT at the highs. We actually swept liquidity. We were in a 15-minute fair value gap here. We also have the same type of bias overall as bearish, because we were displacing through all these lows. We weren't waking them and reacting up. So that trade was absolutely textbook. That's one of the cleanest setups I've seen on ES in a long time. I do want to start getting better at start maybe executing on ES eventually, but I just don't do it. It just doesn't make as much sense to me. It's just not as clean. But I did want to highlight this because this is really, really clean for the ES. And I just normally you don't see trades work out so beautifully on the ES. But that wraps up the charting review. I wonder, let me know in the comments if anything I was talking about with the psychology like sounds like if that makes sense to anyone, because it makes a ton of sense in my head about the just fear of doing the right things and failing, right? I don't know if I worded that the right way, but let me know if anyone goes through that or if anyone hasn't gotten over it, because that's like, I feel like the biggest piece for me is I'm afraid to just do the right things, because then it's like, then what do I blame if it fails, right? What do I blame if I'm holding my trades right? I can't blame getting out of my trades early, right? If I'm doing everything right, or I can't blame over trading if I'm taking one trade a day. I can't blame, taking bad setups if I'm only taking the best setups. So it's like you lose. It's the accountability for being wrong that is scary, because once you start trying to do the right things, you then have to take on the risk of being wrong and not being as good as you think, rather than just, I'm just over trading, or I just let my emotions get the best of me, or I just got out of the trade early, or I was just focused on this or that. It's like, no, it's like I need to grow up. At the end of the day, I know what I'm looking for in the market. I know what I'm doing when I trade, but do I, right? Like, do I actually know what I'm doing if I don't actually do it? Like, I've been in this for too long to keep making dumb mistakes, and that's why it genuinely, like, I try and tell myself and think about how silly it is for me to make some of these mistakes, because, like, why on earth would I be making these mistakes at this point when I know that just won't help me, that's just not good, it's not going to be end game? Why am I doing it? And I think I'm starting to really turn a page with my psychology. I still have a lot of work to do, but I think I'm starting to finally turn a page in that corner and getting better with that, because I feel like I'm starting to finally fully grasp what I'm trying to accomplish here, which is just, I have all the building blocks. I have all the pieces I need, right? I continue learning. I continue getting live data. I continue getting better at reading the markets. But I have all the building blocks. I know what I have to do with risk management, psychology. I know the game plan. Let me just execute. And that's what we're going to keep doing. So before I end the video, since we are back, we get to finally do this a few days late. We just passed over 800 subscribers. So about 50 subscribers late, but that means we're 200 closer to the next quarter. We got a quarter going into the jar from Massachusetts. So if maybe some of you guys are newer, every 250 subscribers, we put in a quarter. So we have 2 quarters in there for 500. Now we're above 750. So now we got 3 quarters, starting to look a lot less lonely in there. And I'm so excited to get my 4th quarter in there. 1,000 subscribers on YouTube has been a really big goal, just not even for trading YouTube, but just any YouTube. I've always loved YouTube and enjoyed posting on here. I have another account that I post more regular stuff on. If anyone can find that, maybe I comment on this video with the boat. But yeah, I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you guys for 750 subscribers, now 800, and hopefully we keep growing. But yeah, I appreciate everyone that's been tuning into the videos. Yeah, and just leave comments with your biggest mistakes with trading, your biggest psychology mistakes, whatever it is. Leave some of your comments on the mistakes, because you need to just keep hammering that in on yourself. Like anyone that's been watching these videos for a while has seen me talk about getting out of trades early for a long freaking time, right? I hammer it in on myself over and over and over and over and over. I talk about it because it is so important to keep stating your problems that you make mistakes on over and over and over, and putting it out there so you don't even have to think about it. When it happens live and you catch yourself about to do it, or you catch yourself doing it, instantly, right? You don't even have to you know what you're doing wrong, and you really start to be able to attack those problems head on, right? And I think it's slowly helping me. So make sure to leave a comment of your biggest problem psychology wise in trading. But yeah, hopefully we have a good rest of the week. We got 2 more days here. Let's kill it. And we're going to stick to our rules. We're going to do good. Peace out. I appreciate everyone watching these videos. Peace.